Kinematics 10. Initial velocity at an angle. If our initial velocity is at an angle relative to horizontal, we must divide it into two components, that is initial velocity x and initial velocity y. To do that, I use trigonometrics, and my velocity in the y direction is my initial velocity multiplied by sinus to the angle, and my initial velocity in the x direction is my initial velocity multiplied by cosine to the angle. An example: the height of kickoff. A place kicker kicks a football at an angle of 40 degrees and the initial speed of the ball is 22 meters per second. Ignoring the air resistance, determine the maximum height that the ball attains. Start to calculate my initial velocities in the y and x components. So my initial velocity in the y component is 14.1 meters per second, and in the x direction is 16.9 meters per second. I've written down my values of the variables. And now I choose an equation. I've chosen this one, and what we want to find is y. So we have to isolate y. I start by moving the initial velocity in y direction squared to the other side. That gives velocity squared minus initial velocity squared. Then I have to move 2 multiplied by my acceleration to the other side, so I divide them to the other side. That gives this equation, and I can put in some numbers, calculate, and it tells me that the maximum height of the ball is plus 10.1 meter. Example 5. The time of flight of a kickoff. What's the time of flight between kickoff and landing? I have my values. Now I want to calculate the time. I have chosen this one, and I have to isolate t. So I move my initial velocity to the other side, and my acceleration gives me this equation. Put in some numbers. Because I have chosen my final velocity to be 0 meters per second, the time I find is from kickoff to the top of the parable. So to find the total time, I have to multiply by 2, because it takes the same time, because it's the same acceleration, it takes the same time to reach the top and to fly from top to bottom and fall from top to bottom again. So I can multiply by 2. I put in some numbers, calculate. It takes 2.88 seconds. Example 6. The range of a kickoff. Calculate the range r of the projectile. because my velocity in the x direction is constant, I have chosen this one. So my distance is my displacement is my initial velocity multiplied by time. 16.9 multiplied by 2.88 gives me plus 48.7 meters.